All right, I want to go to a Cavs game. The Sacramento Kings are going to be in town on Monday, the 5th of February, over here at the Romo Fijo. Simple enough, Cavs.com always has the details that you need. I will get you 2 tickets here. Cavs Kings in a couple of weeks. Good luck. Call 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007.
It's not every day you hear him complain about something. Wait, yes it is. Alan Cox on 100.7 WMMS.
We will have 2 women and 2 cats in a 700 square foot apartment. You cannot bring any
hoes to my house.
We have.
I need a place to bring these hoes back.
You are not bringing any
Hoes to my house. My house.
All of a sudden, you're in New York and surrounded by hoes. That don't mean you got to become one.
I just think you need to think it through.
I just think it's interesting you were having a hoe phase and you're not including your friend Dustin.
There will be no hoes in this house.
You can have hoe sex out in the alleyway with the rats.
They got hourly rooms out there.
That is so ratchet.
Shake it, shake it. You know that
Love
you's
it.
a free. Boom, boom, clap, clap, ski, ski, ski.
Are those guys going to play that Friends and Lovers tour?
You cannot bring any hoes to my house.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be on that big festival?
No.
The Hoes in This House dudes? Who did that? Who did the Hoes in This House song?
That was WAP.
Oh,
the beginning of WAP.
But it was a sample.
Oh, that I don't know.
Yeah, like who did the OG Hoes in This House? Cavs, speaking of whom, tonight. First of 2 against the newly uncoached, decoached. Well, they fired their coach. The Milwaukee Bucks. Cavs at Milwaukee tonight and Friday night. And Bucks are a good team. Nevertheless, not good enough to keep the guy that they had. So 8 o'clock is your tip-off tonight on MMS. 7:30 is when the pregame coverage will begin on the Buzzard and on the iHeartRadio app, if you want to listen there. And the promo code for CLE Clothing, by the way. They always have appropriate gear. If you are a Cavs fan, there's a lot of retro Buzzard merch there, too, at their website. But whether you're shopping online or you find yourself in one of their stores, if you're a more tactile shopper, use the promo code RING, and you get 20% off now through next Wednesday. It'll be the last of the month, and then we'll have a new one for you for February. There's a girl making the rounds on TikTok because she complains. She's young, and she's not alone in this. You'll see a lot of these on social media, going off on older generations for well, she's complaining about working as hard as she does and not really having anything to show for it. This is a pretty common complaint. But it's still, for whatever reason, I don't know why it's such a divisive opinion, because it's fact-based, but people love taking their shots when somebody posts these kinds of things.
I work 5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week. I do not make enough to live on my own. 20 years ago, when you were getting started, you could live on your own. 20 years ago, when you first started, you were able to do everything that I am now struggling to do. You could sit here and you can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but I've been working my tail end off just to barely make it by. And respectfully, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life.
I think the cute part is that she said 20 years ago.
I mean, it was more manageable 20 years ago, even. But
I feel her.
Yeah.
I had my
That's what I'm
first apartment was
saying.
$230 a month.
Yeah.
I can't. The thing is, for everyone who says, like, oh, we're lazy, we don't want to work, I worked 6 days a week last year. I took Sunday was like my day of rest.
The whole year you work 6 days.
Most
in
of
a
it,
week.
Except for one Sunday, which was his rest day.
6 days a week, a lot, yeah. It was a lot, but how many hours can you work with still not getting paid a livable wage?
But that's also my point. I don't know. When boomers complain, they're clearly gaslighting younger generations, and I don't know what the point of that is. Because it's not really...
They don't want to feel bad about themselves. They don't want to think that they had it easy because their whole life they've been screaming about how hard they had it.
No. I understand. Every generation looks at the one behind them and does the whole, oh, you kids. But things are factually harder now for that Gen Z or Gen Alpha
A lot
generation.
of the jobs are gone and overseas. The jobs that people.
I mean, it's
told
not
us,
like it's not like people who grew up boomers. You know, there were a lot of things that were easy, but there were things that were difficult then too, compared to the generations that
it was
came before
subjective.
them.
Sure.
But you know, like my parents could afford the house I grew up in on one income, right? 1971, when I was born. The average home price was about $25,000. It's about 186 grand in today's dollars. But so yes, things were cheaper, but I don't understand this idea that I never understood. Every generation has people who don't want to work. Everyone.
What?
Layabouts and ne'er-do-wells. Whatever.
Draft dodgers.
Yeah. Well, they just don't want to kill people. Plenty of them want to work. But I mean, like, you know, they say millennials. You're talking people in their mid-30s, early 40s. They were the first generation to do worse than their parents did. Like, since the 1800s.
Take that, Dad.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's going to get better for subsequent generations. Because we're an empire in decline, man.
Yeah.
So it ain't going to get better.
Late stage capitalism. Oh.
And also at Walmart, this girl's working at Walmart. At Walmart, you can see your future because you're working with her. This girl's like, I don't want to be 86-year-old Edna working the door greeting people. You can look over and see a coworker that represents your future. So every time these, you know, people post something on TikTok and they invariably go viral and everybody breaks out the slings and arrows. And there are just as many people probably on her side as on the other side. But I've never quite understood the whole, oh, you lazy kids thing.
Well, there's a lot of promises that were made to our generation. Like, oh, if you go to college, you get a degree, you're going to make more money than someone
But
coming.
there's promises made to every generation.
It's different,
Not
though.
like
because
that,
a lot
though.
of because,
No, they are different, but there are promises made to every generation.
But a
But when
lot
it
of the
comes
generation
to-
beforehand. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary.
I was just saying, when it comes to education and work, millennials did everything we were told to do, and we're like the least. We have like the least amount of wealth out of any generation.
And
We're
then-
the most educated with the least amount of money.
And the jobs are going overseas, and the jobs that were plentiful, they were like, oh, they'll always be around, like nursing. The nurses I know, and I know a lot of nurses, they are at their wits' end. COVID wiped them out. Their spirits are broken.
Yeah.
Like you could offer them
But again,
triple
nobody.
their pay,
but
and they're
they're
like, I can't.
But
there's
no
not
one.
enough.
Right. What I'm saying is, no one can predict the future. No one knew there was going to be a global pandemic.
What about fate and tarot cards and
Still in retrospect.
and yeah,
I had a friend of mine.
all that stuff
I had a-
predicts the future all the time.
I had a friend of mine.
Always right.
Uh-oh.
You had a future what?
No, I said I had a friend of mine who had the medical crest on his back, like the cross with the little thing that you see on like the side of ambulances. He had a big
The seal of Hippocrates, that thing?
yeah, it was like the medical seal.
Hippocratic seal or whatever
He
it
had
is?
the big tattoo on his back, and he's getting it removed now because he was like, it's broken my spirits. I don't want to do it anymore. I hate it. Like, it's just, you know.
You're going to really hate getting a back piece removed.
I guess, but he would rather do that than to have, he dedicated his life
So
to
what's he going to do?
just going to get it removed. But
No,
I
no,
don't-
no.
What's his
for
job?
work.
Yeah.
He'll probably still do it, but that's what this generation does. Like, you
Not
don't-
with the enthusiasm
Yeah,
anymore.
not with the same vigor. Like you don't want someone passionate about their job. People will do what they can do and nothing more, because I think their mindset is, if these corporations and these hospitals that are supposed to care, if they don't care, why should I care? They have more resources and all the money in the world to pay their employees right, treat their patients right, and they don't. Like, why should I care? And
Well,
that's what this generation is of.
They do these big surveys of people cross-generationally, and they're like, hustle culture is dying because people are like, people of multiple generations, like, why am I busting my
We're gonna
ass
get ahead.
when it's all going to just, so they're kind of like, there's a lot of people that are prioritizing quality of life. You know, because for a long time it's like, well, you got to find that work-life balance, which always sounded great, but it's real hard for a lot of people to find, especially if you're, you know, trying to make a name for yourself in whatever your area of expertise is. And so there's a lot of people who are like, I'll take a little bit less money if my head doesn't explode every day.
I've tried to explain that concept to Brian probably 500 times.
But he's a hustler, and so am I.
Where I'm like, dude, you work really hard at a physical job. You are tired all the time. Like,
but he knows. It's not like he doesn't know that.
no, and he does
doesn't
know
like
that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you were to just find something that pays a little less and gives you a little more flexibility, your quality of life, blah blah blah. And he's like, nah. I don't know.
Well,
I feel
he's kind of old fashioned in that way, right?
Well, yeah, but I feel like
and that's not a knock. That's just like a different.
Just how he is.
Like I came up in hustle culture. I work just as hard now as I did when I was 21, and that ain't gonna change. So, but that's not for everybody. I mean, it's not. I get where people are coming from. I'm not just getting going now. That would be a very different thing.
I honestly think the pandemic put a lot into perspective for people in the sense of, and I could be wrong, in the sense of like nothing matters.
I think you're right.
Like where it's like, listen, man, everything could disappear at once. I'm not busting my ass for $8 an hour. I don't care. You're going to get $8 worth of work out of me because when this all shuts down in 3 years, I'm not going to be the one looking around like, oh, I just wasted my life,
And these corporations aren't looking out for you. Like
At all.
they will fire you in a heartbeat. They'll have someone already in your place by the time they walk you out the door. So
but that's what contributes to people hustling. People terrified to lose their jobs because a lot of people they're like, I got to do whatever I got to do.
Yeah, they'll have multiple streams of income though.
I think it goes the opposite way, where they're like, if you're going to replace me anyway, why would I bust my ass for you? Because I think that happened to a lot of people during COVID. The amount of layoffs, the amount of people who were furloughed when they're like, I have given everything to this job for the last 10 or 15 years, and you had no problem firing me when stuff got hard.
Well, and
so
especially
why in
when
the world would I bust my ass at another corporation for 15 years when I know that the same thing could happen?
Especially it's not a new development. It's been going on for decades where the prices of things do not move in conjunction with the price with like wages going up, right? And they keep putting out these studies. They go, you're never going to believe this, but things are still expensive because companies are just making too much money. So it has nothing to do with supply and demand. It has nothing to do with ripple effects from COVID. It has nothing. It's companies going, wow, once we jack the prices up, we started making a lot of money. So we're not gonna put them back down.
It's so funny because
it's got nothing to do with like who's president or anything like that.
It's corporate
It's
greed.
companies, yeah. They're like, we're making a lot of money here, so we're just gonna keep bread $9 a loaf or whatever.
I was in the hallway yesterday and I went over to the vending machine to just get my mid-afternoon snack, and I was like, okay. I looked and they have peanut butter M&Ms, and I was like, oh, those look so good.
That's here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, they're good, but $1.75. And then Keith was walking out as I said that. I'm like, $1.75 for these? He's like, yeah, welcome to 2024. I'm like, that's BS, $1.75. Like, in the store.
You paid it.
Yeah, you knew how much it was.
But it shouldn't be $1.75. It just should.
You paid it.
I don't know.
That's what it is. They got it.
It shouldn't be $1.75.
But here's the thing. When we have these conversations, I don't know what a pack of M&Ms should be.
Not $1.75.
What should it be?
Candy should be $1.
It's a quarter like in New York. Why are they charging Cleveland $1.75? Like Mary's
Well, the vending company charges, right? I was going through my account just making sure everything, because we all get messages from time to time about potential fraud or whatever. So I'm just doing a forensics on my account, and I see these two charges for $3.50. And it says something, Solon, Ohio. And I go, wait a second, what the hell is that? Now, it's $3.50, not the end of the world, but I go, what is that? So I Google it. It's the company that owns the vending machine back here. $3.50 is what the Mountain Dew cost me.
That's too much.
But again, everybody says it should be this based on what they used to pay. So I don't know what something should cost.
What you used to pay, it's about how much you're being paid.
No, I understand, but
people are not making enough money for the cost of things to be as crazy as they are.
Understood, and I agree. But what I'm saying is, if you were making a lot more money, you still wouldn't be happy about $1.75 M&Ms.
But it wouldn't hurt you.
Yeah,
I understand.
That's what I'm saying.
But nobody forced you to buy the M&Ms.
Okay,
let's be real.
So then
let's be real.
Let's not say M&Ms. Let's say bread or milk
Understood.
or meat.
But his example was M&Ms.
But if it's $15 for a pack of ground beef, and you're still making the same amount of money that you were 5 years ago when ground beef was $10. Do you see what I mean? It's
Fully
inflation
agree.
all
I'm not
around.
even arguing that. I'm just saying that
That's what people
Poundcake,
are mad about.
a lot of people, Poundcake, don't have the luxury of a mid-afternoon snack.
Well, what
Must be nice.
Well,
Must be nice.
You don't get to say that when you just admitted to paying $4 for a Mountain Dew.
I'm not talking about me.
I
did not tell him to buy the M&Ms. I knew what this was costing me. I just didn't know who. When I saw that charge, I didn't know that there was
it
the
doesn't say
vending machine
Mountain
coming.
Dew.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Nah, forget that. I don't care. Like I like I said yesterday. And
Listen,
I stand by my
the
point.
bigger points are absolutely correct.
I stand by my point that I said yesterday. You're gonna be in debt. You're gonna be in debt unless you're a person of means. You have a trust fund. You have a savings. Your parents helped you out a bit. The American way is get as much debt as you can handle. Like that's literally
and then
it.
die and you don't have to pay it back.
I was like, you're gonna be in debt. Just get you could be in debt a little bit or you could be in debt a lot. Just live your life because you're gonna be in debt regardless. And that's what I've surrendered to because there ain't no way around it. If you're poor, there ain't no way you can get ahead without cheating the system a little bit. And I'm not smart enough to know how to do that.
And the reason, I'll read you a few of these texts, and the reason that nobody can really kind of get a baseline for things is because everybody's situation is different, and some people are killing it and some people aren't. I'll just read you some of these texts. I'm a postman. It's a government job that lacks government funding. We're beaten and abused daily. I do it because it's the only livable wage I can get. I'm not going to say who I am or where it is, but F this job.
Yeah.
Somebody else says, I bust my ass and I have a lot to show for it. It's people with no skills who say it's not worth it.
That's not even close to true.
Somebody else says, I deliver.
That's a cop-out that people use all the time to try and feel like people shouldn't be making a livable
But
wage.
for some people, that is true.
No, but it doesn't mean that someone that has no... Everybody has a right to live and exist, and it used to be a lot easier to do that. The cost of living is insane now.
Yes.
And so, yeah, if you're working hard and you're earning a lot of money, that's great. But there's a lot of people that are working hard and have nothing to show for it. And they're working several jobs.
I was gonna say
and
having 2 or 3
they're
jobs
doing
is not
things
a
that
person with no
are
skills.
that were deemed essential when everything shut down. So in the whole skillless worker or like that whole thing is garbage too. That is just
there is no unskilled labor.
All labor is skilled.
I'd like to know what that person does for a living.
Maybe
that
they'll
person
tell
who
me.
texted and said that.
Well, tell me, whoever texted me that.
And try going back to school without getting debt. So you want to be a skilled worker, go back to a vocational school
But
like I
there's
did.
no point to go to school anymore. How many people have
He's talking
degrees?
about like a trade school.
I'm saying a trade school,
Oh.
but you're still going to tack on debt.
Yeah, but those are the people who go to trade school, and that's why fewer and fewer people are like, screw college, man. Because people go to trade school, they go, I'm a plumber, man. I make $100,000 a year, and I'm always working. And
But that's not even what it used to be because those fields are incredibly crowded now too.
Right.
Because
like nursing,
there's a lot of people that
everybody was like, I'll just go to nursing
Yeah.
school, and then you had a glut of nurses.
Well,
you got a glut of nurses, you got a glut of plumbers, you got all these people that are trying to get in. Getting into the union is not as easy as it used to
and
be.
they can charge whatever they want because you need to have like union dues and stuff like that. So
and union membership is the lowest it's been in like 3 decades right now.
Well, because also there's so many companies that aren't using unions anymore.
Bust
or
a union.
They're
what do you call
they're just
when
not,
you don't work for a union?
There's not as many plumbing companies that are hiring like it used to be. Like everything's less.
You're thinking
they're
of
going like one person. They're hiring a freelance guy to come and do it for half as much.
Poundcake, you're thinking of scabs.
A scab, yeah.
That's people, non-union people that get to work in a union.
Yeah.
Alan, I worked a good job, 6-7 days a week. It was my entire life. After 5 years, I said, screw it, took a big pay cut, found a 40-hour-a-week job, and I've never been happier. I miss the money, but I won't lie, I don't miss not having time to myself.
And I think a lot of people discovered that over the pandemic. When you went from working from home or having time off or being with your family or whatever it might be, taking a vacation for the first time in years, whatever it is, that you're like, oh my God, there's a whole half of my life that I haven't experienced because I've been working my ass off for a company that doesn't give a crap.
Well, like how many people were able to do a hobby for the first time?
Yeah.
Or even forced into doing a hobby.
And America thinks that we're so smart that like, oh, we're the company or we're the country that has the most workers and the most innovative. And one, we're not. Like Japan kills us in pretty much everything. And on top,
well, no, that's not true at all. This country is still like the city on the hill for innovation and things like that.
But they're coming here.
Right, but people still look to this country for a lot of those things.
But why do all the other
That's
countries
why they get that's why they get so upset when people start talking about, we're going to kick out all the immigrants. It's like, you want a white guy to be your doctor? I mean, it's a lot of people that, God bless them, but
I feel like we have the least vacation time worldwide. Like, all the other countries get, like, a month paid vacation.
Well, that's completely different than what you're talking about. I mean, those are countries, too, where people are willing to pay 85% tax. That's how you pay for those things. People will say, oh, it's government health care and all that's great. That's the problem people have over here. They want more of their own money. In those other countries, which are much smaller, not diverse, right?
Yeah,
if your country is full of people who are all the same, Finland is full of Finns, right? So they're like, my quality of life's great, but these people, they're like, because we have collectively decided. I mean, they didn't have universal health care in Canada until the 70s. So that country collectively said, yes, we are willing to kick in a lot more. People down here don't do that.
But I think it's also because people down here have had to scrape by for so long that it makes you, not even greedy isn't the right word, but it makes you protective of what you do have.
Yeah, I understand.
Because you're like,
this is a huge country.
If you didn't have to pay $500 a month for health insurance, you wouldn't feel like you needed to make an extra $500 a month.
Alan, my boyfriend and I have 7 millennials between us, kids and their spouses, and all but one earn $80,000 or more. Not sure where Cody and Mary went wrong.
It's not about where we
Yeah, that's kind of
wrong.
painting with a broad brush. I mean, but again, this is my point. My point in reading some of these is everybody's kind of on a different point on the spectrum. Well, I'm a teacher. I have a master's degree. I definitely have skills. I definitely work hard. I don't make enough to exist at the level that I should in this economy. I'm a union painter for the county, and I make $100,000 a year. The union will and does pay for continued education because it's a must. The guy who said that he works his ass off and his company builds high-pressure hydraulic hoses. Well, you got to do what you love.
So he's probably like an engineer or something.
He's got a passion for hoses.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I also look at it from a different angle because my brother was making great money. He had a job. I think he loved it. And if he didn't love it, he liked it. He was making great money. And then something that he had no control over happened. He got into an accident, and then he's not able to work. So stuff like that happens all the time. So you think he wants to be like on disability or stuff like that? Sometimes people, and a lot of these corporations, a lot of these companies were like, oh, we'll cut you loose, like,
Well, and just to the point where they're like, I'm not sure where Cody or Mary went wrong. We're a little bit. We chose careers in a creative field, which is nobody's fault but our own, right?
There's zero guarantees in that.
Exactly. It's very well known that there's not money.
And it has nothing to do with your level of education.
Right. For a very long time, you're not promised anything. And you may never be promised anything. So it is a little bit exception to the rule, but that doesn't mean that other people our age didn't go get their bachelor's degree. I mean, all my friends go get their bachelor's or master's or whatever it is, and they're still only making $50,000 a year with, multiple degrees, and they can't get approved for a bank loan or whatever it might be.
That's not the truth for me. I'm the poorest one out of all my friends, so I blame it on me going for communications. Everyone else is richer than I am. So
Al and I make just as much as my therapist, and she has a master's. I'm a felon who makes $70,000 a year, and I only have a car payment. Apply yourself, and things come, is what it says.
How do you only have a car payment, though? See, that's what I'm talking about.
Because he's a felon.
But how does he?
He steals everything else.
Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about.
Apply yourself.
I don't know. Yeah.
I was gonna say, how do you just I would love that. That's the secret to success. Don't have a lot of bills. Live below your means. But I can't live. My lifestyle has changed.
I don't know.
I can't live with my mom.
People are just giving me little snapshots of their lives. So anyway, I've got to take a break
here. Did that person
here.
ever text back and say what they did?
Yeah. They were the
hydraulic
pressure hoses.
Okay.
So not a thrilling job, but you make money, and some people are like, I don't need to like my job, pays me a lot. Let me break here. I'll have $1,000 for you. That'll go to something, whether you spend it or put it right in your pocket. It's from the Buzzard Bookie. 4:30. That next keyword. After the break, I want to go see comedian Rob Schneider. He is coming through next month to do MGM Northfield Park.